about your barbecue sauce question. So we would follow the same argument as a granola bar. Co-op pricing options don't necessarily translate to big box retailers, right? First of all, demographics matter. Let's say you're selling your barbecue sauce in a single co-op in a neighborhood where the residents are very selective about their barbecue sauces and they appreciate your brand over the 3 other brands in the co-op, right? Well, you go to Target, where the shopper demographic is considerably different and consumers are selecting from among 20 options. You have to treat each pricing opportunity as a unique exercise. So your pricing opportunity at a co-op will be different than Target, and that will be quite considerably different than Costco. So what can growing brands do when considering their pricing options from small distribution channels to big box retailers? Well, first of all, you must know the pricing architecture of your category. An example we work with in the guidebook is from water. An example of pricing architecture from water is that sparkling water is priced differently than enhanced water, which is priced differently than still water. Understand the hierarchy and desirability of each of these different products within your category. When the category's pricing structure is set, you might have little to no influence to change that. You have to know what makes your offering quite unique, and you have to articulate it very clearly. So one of the experts that we talked to as part of this guidebook preparation is Keith Walter from Target. And he said, it's very difficult for a small nascent brand to break into a new category. We look for distributions with smaller chains first. Big box retailers would not be willing to take the risk unless the offering is exceptionally unique, with clear differentiation and successfully delivered brand promise. So these are really key when you're transitioning from a smaller distribution channel into a large distribution channel. Probably the most important insight, however, is this. You must have a value proposition not only for your consumers, but also for your buyer. You'll only win when your buyer's growth strategies align with yours. One other thing that our expert Keith Walter said was, do not focus just on your value proposition to the consumer. You must have a separate value proposition for the buyer. Why should your product be included in my assortment? You should be able to do better than what I can do just by process of elimination. And he's right. He said, see my set, see my colors, see my labels, see my shells, and then figure out how you will pop out. So it's really important to get your value proposition right for your buyer in the context of the overall category. So back to your barbecue sauce question. You might be one of the very few brands in a co-op at a higher price point for that very particular demographic or the location that you are. As soon as you get into a big box retailer, the game changes, and it is all dependent on the overall category, the assortment, the set, the colors, the labels, and the pricing hierarchy within that category and within that chain. Right. So I would say that your chances for pricing each flavor differently disappears as you go up in scale. And actually, you don't want to do that because you're introducing complexity into a customer's purchase decision. You're forcing me to not only choose between brands, but also between flavors. Different pricing for different flavors increases the difficulty of making that choice. So instead of putting the customer through that difficulty, you should address your cost and margin requirements for your overall product mix using your financial model. Evaluate your costs and margins for each option and calculate a blended price that meets your overall margin requirements. So speaking of your product mix, when it comes to your product mix, you have to treat every variety, distribution, and channel as a different offering. Your packaging strategy is key to create price discrimination and align your pricing with your channel's dynamics. There are some trends that you can consider for packaging and offering your product differently to meet your margin requirements. Some of these trends are as follows. For example, fewer person households. Consider fewer quantity per unit, resulting in higher margins. Smaller portions is another trend. You can test alternative price points for constructing a volume price curve using smaller portions. You can also focus on distinct e-commerce only offerings. You can establish your brand, get very quick feedback on mass adoption, and you can test alternative promotions. And it's easier to do that on e-commerce than any other channel. Dinner occasion is another trend, right? Understand if you can make a differentiated play with this really growing hot trend. Cooking at home is probably one of the next major healthy food movements, and the consumers are increasingly asking food suppliers to change how they do business and provide healthy options for cooking at home. So on the supplier end, any of these trends might change the cost equation quite drastically. Therefore, you should at least make sure to have a cost equation, literally a financial model that can help you test scenarios of any of these options. I will give you another example from this morning. I just stopped by the bagel shop as I was coming here, and I realized a 5-ounce Chobani in the counter, right? Just as I check out. So the 5-ounce Chobani was $2.69 at the bagel shop, and a 40-ounce Chobani is $4.69 at Costco, and a 15-pack Chobani is around $13 at Target, right? So that's what we mean by treating every offering and every channel differently, because your pricing and margin opportunity changes drastically. And when you are looking at your financial model for optimizing for your product mix and your channel mix, you should treat this as an optimization exercise of the whole mix.